Good evening and welcome to the Danny Beasley Show. This is Danny Beasley reporting from Hartsville, South Carolina. Time is 7:14 p.m. Date is 6/17/2013. This is a Monday following Father's Day Sunday, and we hope that everyone enjoyed their Father's Day weekend, and we hope that everyone is here with us this evening and ready to listen to the news as it's being gathered from different sources from around the globe, and news that would not necessarily make the major networks as is being exposed here for the first time. So we'll get immediately into our news program. This is Dan Beasley reporting. Right now, President Putin, Russian Putin, President Putin is facing off with President Obama over Syria. Rebels get Saudi missiles. Uh, the U.S. is, for the first time, committed to the rebel cause in Syria. And since Russia is fronting the Assad regime with advanced weaponry, has faced off against Syria's rebels and has caused like 90,000 deaths so far. Obama is being pressured into giving the rebels missiles. So this is indirectly Russia against the U.S. And the G8 summit, Syria economy was to dominate the meeting of the world leaders. And this is coming from Northern Ireland and Enniskillen, Northern Ireland, Dubai, by Reuters. Rebels fought to a halt to advance by President Bashar al-Assad's forces into northern Syria on Monday, while U.S. President Barack Obama faced a showdown with Russia's Vladimir Putin over Obama's decision last week to arm the insurgents. New evidence emerged of escalating foreign support for the rebels, with a Gulf source telling Reuters that Saudi Arabia had equipped fighters for the first time with shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles. Their most urgent request, rebels said Raja had sent them anti-tank missiles. The weapons deal was disclosed as rebel fighters confronted government troops and hundreds of militants from the Iranian-backed Hezbollah militia seeking to retake the northern city of Aleppo, where heavy fighting resumed on Monday. After months of indecision, the Obama administration announced last week that it would arm the rebels because Assad's forces had crossed a red line by using nerve gas. That has put Washington on the opposite side of the two-year-old civil war from its Cold War foe Moscow, which supplies weapons to Assad. The next news item is Florida teen hitches a ride on a 30-foot whale shark. And we have a photograph of it if you're willing to go to yahoo.com. ABC.news is covering this information through yahoo.com. ABC News' Matt Gumman and Anthony Castellano report that a Florida teen did not hesitate to hitch a ride on a 30-foot long, 50,000-pound whale shark in the Gulf of Mexico when it swam past his boat. The whale shark was cruising off the coast of Florida, last week when Christ, 19, and his family spotted a shark in the ocean. But to Christ, it looked like the world's biggest boogie board. Christ jumped on the back of a boat and latched onto the dorsal fin. I decided, maybe I should go try and swim with him. I might not be able to do it ever again, Christ said. Christ's joyride on the fish captiva's coast was short-lived and ended after only 9 seconds, which was captured on video Saturday. He began to descend and if something doesn't want you on it, you might as well just let it go, he said. Despite its name, whale sharks are considered the gentle giants of the sea and are about the size of a school bus. They hold the distinction of being the ocean's largest fish and feed mostly on plankton. Price's stunt has led to a boatload of scrutiny by some critics that because human contact can potentially harm whale sharks. Um, Moving on in the news, we have another one of a man falling 15 stories from a high-rise building in New Zealand. His odds of survival were 100 to 1, and against all medical odds, the 20-year-old survived a fall from a 15-story apartment building in New Zealand after attempting to get into his locked apartment from the balcony above. An American emergency room doctor said the chances of living through a fall from that height are about 100 to 1. The man, identified by New Zealand Herald as Tom Stillwell, a British man in Auckland on a working holiday, returned home after a night out with friends and found he did not have a key to get into his locked apartment. Stillwell tried to jump down from the balcony of the apartment above, but instead plummeted to the roof of the building below. So there's also a story about a man survives a fall from the Empire State Building. Stillwell's story astounded doctors in New Zealand as well in the United States. Made me wonder what kind of roof that it looked like that he fell on, said Dr. Nicholas Kamen, associate professor of emergency medicine at the Ohio State University Medical Center. It's pretty abnormal for someone to fall that far and survive, Kamen said. For every fall like that, the odds of living are very rare. Doctors use a formula called lethal doses to determine the likelihood of death in a fall. At 4 stories or about 48 feet above the ground, half will survive. At 7 stories or 84 feet, only 10% are expected to live, and 90% will die, according to Kamen. And according to officials, he fell 13 stories. At first, he was in critical condition in Auckland City Hospital, but was later upgraded to satisfactory with neck and back fractures, broken wrist, and suspected internal injuries. The next news item that we have is from the person that leaked the information about the NSA spying on the U.S. citizens, through the hugest dragnet in human history. Snowden, Edward Snowden, is the person that we're talking about. He's saying that the U.S. wants to murder me. Truth is coming and it cannot be stopped. And this was published like a mere 6 hours ago. And he was also, given the information, that he was in China, he was in Hong Kong, he was wanting to move out of Hong Kong, and the U.S. was afraid that he was going to turn against the U.S. and give China very secure information, secrets that we did not want leaked to the enemy. So therefore, there's a lot of controversy concerning this guy as whether or not he is a patriot, or whether or not he's a spy, or whether or not he's a double agent, or whether or not he needs to be tried for treason. His father is making an appeal for him to return back to the U.S. to face the charges against him so that he will not have to worry about his future. On the other front, WorldNet Daily is saying that Obama's approval ratings have plummeted since this latest scandal with the NSA. They said that his rating has dropped 8 percentage points over the past month to 45%. It's his lowest rating in more than a year and a half, according to the national poll. And the CNN ORC International Survey released Monday morning comes as the White House has been reacting to controversies over a massive U.S. government surveillance program, the Internal Revenue's targeting of Tea Party and other conservative groups that have applied for tax-exempt status, and the administration handling of last September's attack of Benghazi that left the U.S. ambassador to Libya and 3 other Americans dead, and Justice Department's secret collection of journalists' phone records as part of the government investigation into classified leaks. We'll move on from that story on to the next story in the headlines, and we're moved on to NASA, which picked 8 astronauts, 4 of them women. NASA has now 8 new astronauts, its first new batch in 4 years. Space Agency announced its new astronaut class Monday. Among the lucky candidates, the first female fighter pilot to become an astronaut in nearly 20 years. A female helicopter pilot is also in the group. In fact, 4 of the 8 people are women that have been chosen for the next NASA mission. Highest percentage of female astronaut candidates ever selected by NASA. The 8 were chosen from more than 6,000 applications, the second largest number ever received, and they will report for duty in August at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. NASA Administrator Charles Bolden says these new candidates will help lead the first human mission to an asteroid and then to Mars. The list is Josh A. Casada, PhD, 39, from Black Bear Lake, Minnesota. Victor J. Glover, 37, Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy, from Pomona, California, and Prosper, Texas. Tyler N. Haig, Nick is his nickname, 37, he's a Lieutenant Colonel from the U.S. Air Force, from Hoxie, Kansas. He's a graduate of MIT, by the way. Christina M. Hammock, 34, from Jacksonville, North Carolina. Nicole Anapuman, or Man, 35, a major in the U.S. Marine Corps. Ann C. McLean, 34, major U.S. Army, from Spokane, Washington. Jessica U. Muir, PhD, from Caribou, Maine. And Andrew R. Megan, MD, 37, major from the U.S. Army, from Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Those are the ones that are chosen for the new missions to go to asteroids and then to Mars. Also in the news, there is South Carolina a man arrested for beating a disabled man with his own prosthetic leg. This broadcast is coming from South Carolina, and this is totally out of character for anyone that's in this state. Never heard of any other story quite like this one before, but it says a disabled South Carolina man was pushed off of a moped and then beaten with his own prosthetic leg by an assailant who was arrested earlier today for assault, cops charge. According to a Myrtle Beach Police Department report, Jeffrey Johnson was riding his moped when Joel Parrish, 35, pushed him off the vehicle. Once the victim hit the ground, his prosthetic leg came off. And then while Johnson, 43, was on the ground, Parrish allegedly began to kick and punch him. And the suspect also picked up the subject's prosthetic leg and hit him with it several times. Johnson was interviewed by the police at a local hospital, suffering a laceration above his right eye that required stitches. Parrish was booked this morning into the Myrtle Beach jail for felony assault count and police records do not describe the motive for the alleged attack.